A photographer's job is to point a camera and press a button. According to the people in this video, it also includes shutting down Times Square, hypnotizing toddlers, and repaving a public street. Cameras can do a lot. They cannot do what these people wanted. 1. A refund request landed on a newborn photographer's desk because a 3-day-old had failed to cooperate. Her crimes were crying non-stop and refusing to hold a tiny basketball her parents had their hearts set on. They also decided the studio was too hot. Here is the thing. That thermostat sits at 80 degrees for one reason only, and that reason is the comfort of their own baby. Every newborn session is warm. That is the job. 72 hours out of the womb, and this kid was already getting notes on her performance. 2. 60 pounds of husky, off the leash, in a studio full of lights on skinny stands. You already know how this went. The owner refused to clip him in because she wanted him to look natural, so he spent the session doing laps at full speed. Then the complaint started about how her dog was never centered in the frame. Her suggestion was a dog whistle, or whatever quiet mind trick photographers are apparently taught for freezing an animal on command. Every image came back a streak of gray. She decided the camera must be broken. 3. The source material was a single snapshot of a late grandfather, taken on a flip phone in 2004. Squint at it and you might make out a man. You might also be looking at a lamp. The client wanted him dropped into the family portrait, sharp and properly lit, like he had been standing there all along. The photographer explained that no software invents a face out of detail the camera never captured. She heard that as him being too lazy to try, and told him he was insulting a dead man's memory. Her budget for the resurrection was a $20 tip. 4. The accusation was that he did not care about their love story. His actual crime was going home at 10 at night, the hour printed in the contract both of them had signed. This couple had assumed he would stay until 2 in the morning, unpaid, filming the stretch of the evening where the open bar starts making decisions for everybody. When he packed his gear at the agreed time, they were genuinely stunned and called him unprofessional. He had done precisely what the paperwork said, right down to the hour. 5. 2 days of dishes in the sink, clothes on the couch, clothes on the stairs, clothes claiming a chair by the window. That is the home a real estate photographer was sent to make look appealing. He lit it well, shot around the worst of it, and handed over clean images of a house that was anything but. The agent's note back was that the place looked cluttered. Her fix was for him to erase it all by hand, plate by plate and sock by sock, on his own time and free of charge. Whatever is on that floor when the shutter clicks is what buyers scroll past online. 6. At a kid's soccer game, one dad had a very specific idea of what his money bought. His son scored while the camera happened to be aimed at the opposite end of the field, where the other team was also putting one in the net, and he treated that like a theft. His position was that a paying customer gets the lens pointed at his child, and only his child, for the full 90 minutes. Not the match, not the team, not the 20 other kids whose parents paid into the same package. One boy tailed across a field like a wanted man. 7. Somewhere off frame, a squirrel existed. The family dog noticed, turned his head at the exact wrong moment, and the group portrait was declared a total loss. The whole family wanted their money back. Their theory was that a high-frequency whistle, blown at the right instant, would have snapped the animal's eyes back to the lens. Small problem. This dog had never been trained to do a single thing in his life, and 2 of the children were screaming their heads off the entire session. What they thought they had hired was a man with a remote control for the brains of household pets. 8. Make the rooms smaller. Not bigger, smaller. And the person asking was a real estate agent, which breaks about a century of tradition. The wide-angle shots had made the property look open and generous, and that worried her, because the actual living room is closer to a hallway with ambitions. She pictured buyers walking in, doing the math and feeling tricked. So she asked the photographer to lower their expectations in advance. One agent out there decided a small letdown online beats a big one at the front door. 9. For the price he paid, this man expected the lions to earn it. That was his complaint to the wildlife guide after a safari, where the cats did what cats do about 20 hours a day, which is lie in the grass ignoring everybody. No roaring, no eye contact. Nobody faced his lens. He felt the animals had been uncooperative given what the trip cost, and he floated a fix. Somebody walks over and gets one worked up. Somebody pokes an apex predator so a tourist can go home with a better photo. 10. An intern spent an entire corporate gala at the coat check, down the hall from the ballroom, taking jackets from strangers she would never meet. The next day, her mother rang the photographer, furious that her daughter did not appear in one single keynote photo. The explanation of where the girl had actually been did not slow her down. What she wanted was her daughter edited into the front row, shoulder to shoulder with the chief executive, so the shot could go straight onto a resume. Not a record of a night she was part of, proof of a job she never had. 11. Make one of my ears bigger. That is an actual instruction an executive gave a retoucher, and he was completely serious. He had studied his own headshot and concluded that his ears matched each other too precisely. In his theory, a man whose face lines up that neatly reads as slick, and slick men do not hold investor money for long. A slightly mismatched ear would make him look warmer, more human, more like somebody you can trust. Photographers spend entire careers making people look better, and this one got paid to do the opposite. 12. He was told he lacked imagination, which is rich, because the job he turned down was moving a skyscraper. On an architectural shoot, a client decided a neighboring high-rise was standing in the wrong place, blocking the sunset he wanted in the frame. His fix was for the photographer to nudge the tower a few feet to the left afterward, on a computer, the way you drag an icon across a desktop. Hearing that every window and shadow behind it would have to be invented from nothing changed nothing. To him, it just sounded like excuses. 13. A grape went up in the air at a company party. The boss caught it in his mouth, delighted with himself, then discovered nobody had captured the feat for posterity. The photographer was in another room at the time, pointing his lens at the guest of honor, which was the entire reason he had been booked. The complaint that followed said, "A real professional keeps the full 360 degrees around him covered every second. One man, one camera, two eyes that face the same direction, like every human who has ever lived." 14. Nobody ever told this founder that glass reflects things. He had a line of luxury watches, hired a pro to photograph them, then rejected the images because he could see the studio lights curving across the crystal. To him, that made a very expensive watch look like something sold beside a gas station register. The photographer tried filters, polarizers, black cards, softer sources, the whole watch tinted in white fabric. He kept asking for one more attempt. None of it worked, because what he wanted does not exist. A clear, polished surface, lit hard, reflecting absolutely nothing back at the lens. 15. Close every mouth. All 500 photos, one guest at a time, by hand, in editing. That was the job a socialite tried to hand her photographer after her birthday party, because too many people had been caught mid-laugh with their teeth showing. She found it low class, beneath the evening. What she wanted instead was 500 frames of guests, with their lips pressed shut, looking like they had just been handed very bad news at a very expensive party. She hired a man to capture the night, then complained that the night looked like fun. 16. The refund threat came with conditions. Blur every inch of her face or hand the money back. A beauty influencer had opened her gallery, seen her own skin in high resolution, and did not recognize it. Pores, texture, the ordinary surface of a human face, which she had apparently never looked at without a filter sitting on top of it. Her accusation was that the photographer chose a lens designed to add 10 years to her. He chose a sharp one. That is what she paid for, and that is what a professional camera does. 17. Golden hour lasts about 20 minutes, and it is the reason wedding photographers watch the clock all afternoon. The mother of the bride wanted it removed. Too orange, she said. In her opinion, the whole wedding party looked like they had just flown home from a week in Cancun, and she asked for that warmth to be pulled out of every single frame in the gallery. She did not mean skin tones or white balance. She meant the light itself. A woman filed a complaint against a star and expected to win. If you have witnessed anything close to that, the comments are open. 18. 60 children in matching costumes, and this woman's daughter was the best of them. She said so herself, more than once, which is how the complaint began. In the recital group photo, the girl was standing on the far left, and her mother demanded to know why the center spot beside the instructor had gone to somebody else. The photographer was supposed to have worked this out alone. One glance at 60 kids standing still in a row, and he should have identified the most gifted dancer in the building and built the entire lineup around her. 19. In the middle of a public park, a man cornered a street photographer and demanded a picture be deleted immediately. He was not even the subject. He was a blur in the background, sitting on a bench, halfway through a hot dog. His argument was that what he eats counts as private information, and photographing it crossed a legal line. The real fear came out a moment later. His fitness coach follows him on Instagram, and if that photo went up, the meal plan he swore he was following was finished. All of it to protect one hot dog. 20. The steak was perfect. The steam ruined everything. A restaurant owner looked at the shot and said the vapor coming off his meat looked pale and spooky, like something drifting out of a haunted house, and he wanted it fixed so the dish looked appetizing. The photographer explained that steam is hot water leaving a hot surface, and it has looked that way in every kitchen since people started cooking. The owner rejected all of that and blamed the lighting. His notes asked for steam with more substance, more character. He wanted a personality out of water vapor. 21. Fix the fan. That was the instruction, delivered by a model whose hair kept whipping across her face during an outdoor fashion shoot. Move it, angle it down, do something about it. One small complication with this plan. Nobody had brought a fan. They were standing on a cliff, and the wind hitting them came off the open Atlantic, strong enough to lean your whole body into. She had decided the man holding the camera was in charge of it. Her bangs went sideways all afternoon, and every gust was somehow his fault. 22. 8 hours on the throne. 8 hours of screaming toddlers, sticky hands, and flashbulbs. And by the time this family reached the front of the line, the mall Santa's beard was hanging a little crooked. The mother saw the final print and asked for a reshoot with a different Santa. A more authentic one. Jollier. More convincing. Closer to the version in the storybook. A man slowly cooking inside a velvet suit at the end of the worst shift in retail. And she filed a complaint about his level of magic. 23. Somebody stood at the edge of the Grand Canyon, took in one of the great views on Earth, and later complained that the prince looked dusty. What he was looking at is called haze. It is air, sitting in a canyon so big you could lose a city inside it, and it is there every single day. His question was whether that could be cleaned out, and the colors pushed until the rocks glowed like a 1970s postcard. He was, in plain terms, asking a man to delete the sky from a national park. People cross the country to see the real thing, and then want it to look like a phone filter. 24. A boudoir client asked for dramatic lighting and got exactly that, which is where the trouble started. Going through her images, she fixed on the shadow behind her, stretched across the wall, and decided it looked sinister. Villain shadow. As if the photographer had cast her as the bad guy on purpose. She wanted the entire session shot again from zero, not because of a pose, not because of an outfit, not because of an angle, because the wall behind her came across as hostile. 25. A bully and a gatekeeper. That is what a bridesmaid called a wedding photographer in a formal written complaint, and here is the crime behind it. She wore a teal dress to the ceremony, went home, looked at the pictures, and decided teal was wrong for her skin. So she asked him to repaint the dress soft rose gold in every single frame she appeared in. When somebody explained that this is weeks of manual work and thousands of dollars in labor, she took it as a personal attack. She picked the dress. He was supposed to fix it, for free. 26. Her phone footage mattered just as much as the official album. That was the position taken by a wedding guest who started an argument with the photographer out loud while the couple were exchanging vows. He was standing where she wanted to stand, so she told him to move. The couple had paid a professional thousands of dollars to document the one day they will look back on forever. 27. A laugh got this photographer formally reported for unprofessional behavior. What set him off was an interior designer explaining her plan to fix the light. The sunshine coming through the living room window was reading too yellow for her, and it clashed with the cool blue pillows she had arranged on the sofa. Her solution was that he step outside with an enormous blue sheet, hold it up between the house and the sun, and tint the daylight. He thought she was joking. She was not. The complaint went in the same day. 28. Here is a complaint that should not be possible. A cosmetics founder opened her product shots on a laptop, then on her phone, and the red lipstick looked slightly different between the two. Her conclusion was that the photographer had lit the shoot with the wrong shade of red, as though he had poured the wrong color into the room. He explained screen calibration, that no two displays agree on anything, which is why your phone and your TV never show the same sky. She was not persuaded. Her fix was that he fly out and adjust her monitor by hand. 29. She wanted a full refund on her concert ticket, and the reason was a camera lens. Front row, hundreds of dollars a seat, and the thing that ruined her night was not the band, not the sound, not the guy screaming lyrics in her ear. It was glare. Stage lights kept bouncing off the front of the photographer's lens and catching her eye, and she said it pulled her out of the music entirely, so she sat down and wrote a furious review about it. The man in the pit was doing the exact job the band hired him for. 30. Every day, sometimes twice a day, the phone rang with the same question. Where are my photos? The woman asking had owed her photographer $3,000 for half a year and had no plans to fix that. She explained that the delay was ruining her anniversary, a delay she created herself by ignoring an invoice since winter. Then she raised the stakes. Send the files now, at no charge, or she leaves a one-star review that sits on his business page forever. 6 months without paying a cent, and she was the one making threats. 31. Recess ran long, and this boy spent every minute of it in a pile of other kids on the football field. Then he sat down for his yearbook portrait, with his hair pointing in 4 directions. His mother wanted to know why nobody fixed it first. She figured a comb and a can of hairspray belonged in the photographer's bag, ready for every child who walked up. 300 students in one morning, $20 a package, and somehow that covers a stylist on standby. 32. Somebody's neighbors were about to get a visit from a photographer with instructions. Roll the garbage bins out of sight. Move the cars off the street. The woman renting her place out on Airbnb had studied her listing photos and decided the block looked too lived in, so she wanted the street cleared of any sign that other humans exist nearby. He refused. She told him he was deliberately wrecking her rental income. The man was booked for 2 hours of pictures, not a term as mayor. 33. Mask on. Cap pulled down low, eyes locked on a phone screen for the entire walk across the stage. That is how this young woman collected her diploma, and afterward her mother demanded to know why there was no clear photo of her face. There was no face available. It was covered by fabric and angled at a screen the whole time. The mother's proposed workarounds were shooting through the phone somehow, or simply drawing a smile onto her daughter later in editing. 34. She wanted the whole session reshot on a cracked old iPhone, and she was not joking. This was a woman who had paid full studio rates, sat under professional lighting, and received a gallery most people would frame. Her verdict was that it looked too clean, too polished. All that expensive gear made her life look staged instead of real, and owning it made the photographer a snob. Somewhere out there is a person who hired an expert and then filed a complaint because the work came back better than her own phone could manage. 35. Draw in some abs. That was one line on a list handed to a photographer after a gym shoot, right above the request to erase every drop of sweat from photos taken inside a gym. This influencer had trained for 2 full hours, looked at the results, and concluded her definition was missing. She held the lighting responsible for showing what was actually there. So the plan became simple. She would do the workouts, and a man at a desk with a mouse would supply the body. 36. no nap, and an itchy wool sweater. Set a 2-year-old up like that, hand him to a stranger holding a camera, and there is exactly one thing that happens next. He howled through the whole session. Dad decided the failure belonged to the photographer, who apparently should have pulled a better goofy face to win the kid over. Then came the refund request, and the reason on it was how upsetting he found it to look at pictures of his own miserable son. 37. A man walked up to a working photographer in a public park and ordered him to pack up and go. His grievance was the clicking. He said it counted as cruelty to wildlife, and that it had wrecked the quiet moment he was sharing with a squirrel. Here is the part he never checked. The camera was on a silent electronic shutter, which makes no sound whatsoever. He built an entire confrontation, a moral position, and a squirrel relationship around audio his own head invented. 38. A decade-old laptop met a folder of professional images and basically fainted. Fans screaming, everything frozen, not one photo opening. The owner's read on the situation was sabotage, and he told the photographer so, accusing him of packing the delivery with viruses just to cause trouble. When he heard that detailed pictures come in big files and always have, he arrived at his real solution. The photographer should buy him a computer capable of opening the work he had already paid for. 39. 4 in the morning, and the phone buzzes with an angry email. The wedding had ended at midnight, after 10 straight hours of shooting, and this couple wanted to know why the gallery was not online yet. Their reasoning was that the wedding was still the talk of their friend group, and the photos needed to land while people cared. And their suggestion for how it should have been done? Editing in the car on the drive home, at 1 in the morning, after 10 hours on his feet. 40. Third trimester, and this woman felt her pregnancy glow was underperforming. She wanted actual light coming off her skin, added later on a computer. Not a warm window, not a soft tone. Something closer to an arrival from above, beams and all. The photographer gave her an honest, gorgeous gallery instead. A pregnant woman lit beautifully and looking exactly like herself. The complaint came in shortly after. She looked too much like a human being in them, and she wanted that corrected. 41. The complaint said the bride no longer recognized herself in her own wedding photos, and that everything looked wildly overdone. Fair enough, except for one detail. She wrote the instructions. Rebuild the jawline. Take 4 inches off the waist. Every frame, no exceptions, and she checked the progress along the way. The retoucher put in 30 hours on it, dragging a new woman into existence 1 image at a time, and then got hit with a formal complaint for succeeding. She ordered a stranger's face and got upset when a stranger showed up. 42. The photos came back looking like someone had photographed a cloud. White towels laid out on a white backdrop, with no shadows allowed anywhere, because that was the client's exact order. Clean and bright, she called it. What she got was a set of edges that simply vanished, since white sitting on white does that everywhere in the universe. Her response was to call the photographer incompetent. The only way to fill that order is to go out and discover a second kind of white first. 43. Her likes were down, and she had found the culprit. The photographer's work was too good, she explained. And beside those images, the rest of her feed looked cheap, which was scaring people off. That was half the message. The other half demanded a free re-edit of the entire gallery, because she had swapped her brand color overnight, and the beige in the photos no longer matched the beige on her page. Chasing that woman's aesthetic is a full-time job with a new shade every week. 44. An executive got his headshot back and sent over a correction list. The gray had to go, jet black instead. Wrinkles, deleted. The double chin, erased completely. The photographer worked through every line of it and returned the file. Then came the complaint. The man in the picture was a total stranger to him. Dennis, buddy, you are 60 years old. Half of LinkedIn is now portraits of people their own co-workers would walk right past on the street. 45. Their feedback afterward was that she looked worn out, and the shots lacked a warm summer feeling. They picked the coldest hour of the coldest month, and then wanted the sun of Barbados out of it. 46. Her position was that clearing the street with city officials falls under the photographer's job description. This was a street-style shoot in Manhattan, 30 minutes long, and her complaint afterward was that there had been cars on the road while she walked across it. Traffic, in New York, on a working day. She wanted the block emptied so nothing would spoil the frame, and she genuinely believed a phone call could arrange it. Half a city grinding to a stop so one woman could cross the street in a nice coat. 47. 3 times the photographer offered a studio as backup. 3 times this couple waved it off, because they wanted the beach at sunset and nothing else would do. Then the clouds arrived, the light went gray and flat, and they came back demanding half their money returned. Their reasoning was that he should have predicted the weather ahead of time and packed lighting capable of faking a tropical sunset on command. The sky has never once asked a photographer for input. 48. Delete the husband. Every frame, the whole album, as if he had never attended. That call came in 3 days after the honeymoon suitcases were unpacked, because the bride had just learned he had been cheating the entire time. What she wanted left behind was 100 pictures of a woman standing alone at an altar in a dress that cost as much as a car. The photographer explained the hours involved and the extra fee. She started shouting that he had no compassion for what she was going through. 49. The road was the problem. Not the light, not the angles, the actual asphalt, under a modified sports car, which struck its owner as too rough and too cheap to be sharing a photo with his wheels. His fix was for the photographer to lay down smooth black marble across the whole street, digitally, in every single frame. Hearing that this represents weeks of work, he found a darker motive in it. Somebody was trying to make his car look like it lived on a poor block. His real dispute was with the city road crew. 50 complaints, and not one was about a blurry photo. It was the sun, the wind, the dog, the traffic, the pores. So which one of these clients was the absolute worst? Pick a number and defend it in the comments, because somebody is going to disagree with you. Like and subscribe.